Last year, I was pitching my startup idea to someone. I'd spent days preparing the deck, refining the numbers, preparing the pitch. And right before I began, the man across the table looked at me and said something I will probably never forget. He looked at me and he said, "But Bacche, you're just a kid." For a second, I didn't know what to say, because technically he wasn't wrong. I was young, I still am, I'm 23, but I remember thinking something in that moment, something that I probably won't forget. Maybe I am younger than you, but I'm still about to pitch you a business. And that moment, because sometimes the world doesn't question your ideas, it questions whether you're old enough to have them. And if you're a young woman building something, the doubt becomes even louder. So today, I want to talk about what it means to build something before you feel like the most experienced person in the room, and why that might be your biggest strength. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kashika Malhotra. I'm a 23-year-old entrepreneur, and for me, entrepreneurship did not begin with a good idea. It began with a question. When I was still in school, I noticed something small that had been completely accepted as normal. Many women working at construction sites in Delhi wear the sari and the salwar kameez. As we know, traditional Indian clothing doesn't necessarily have pockets in them. No place for money, no place for their phone, no place for something as simple as a key. It seems like a small design flaw, but when you're working outdoors for 10 hours a day, it's not small at all. I remember standing near one of these sites and watching women work. Some of them would tie their money into the corner of their dupatta. Some would hand their phone to another person to keep for the day. Sometimes they simply left their belongings in a corner on a brick, hoping it would still be there by the end of the day. So, as part of a school project, I designed a small functional pouch, almost like a fanny bag, that women could wear comfortably with traditional clothing. We distributed them to female laborers across Delhi. Over time, this project grew into something bigger. What started as a school initiative was then registered as a trust called RAMP. At that time, I did not call it entrepreneurship, but it taught me something very powerful early on in life. The best ideas do not come from boardrooms. They come from paying attention. And sometimes the most powerful ideas start with noticing something everyone else has stopped noticing. Later on, I went to the University of St. Andrews, where I studied sustainable development and business management. Like many students from international universities, the next step seemed pretty obvious. Graduate, move to London, start a corporate career. I even had a job offer from KPMG waiting for me. And if you're a Gen Z, you know this moment very well. The moment when life looks like the perfect LinkedIn post. The job offer looks great. London as a city, amazing to me. Your resume looks impressive. But inside your head, there's still a small voice asking, is it really worth it? Do I really want this? A conundrum we Gen Zs are often guilty of. We are the generation that is supposed to have endless opportunities and endless options. But sometimes that also means we spend a lot of time figuring out what actually really matters to us. Around that time, my father asked me if I would like to spend some time working for him. He runs a company called Brandman Retail. It specializes in bringing global athleisure brands and bring them to India market through retail stores and e-commerce. Now, joining a family business at 22 definitely sounds exciting, until you actually do it. Because suddenly you walk into a room where people have been in the industry longer than you've been alive. And everyone knows exactly who you are. You're not Kashika, the new professional, you're not Kashika, the new employee, you're Arun Sir ki beti. And that is not always the easiest place to start from. Because you quickly realize something important. Respect is not inherited, it is earned. I remember one of my very first meetings at Brandman. I was leading a project, but through the meeting, someone in the room kept directing questions towards senior managers instead of me, even though I was responsible for work. At first, I wondered if I was imagining it, but after the third or fourth time, it seemed pretty obvious. In some rooms, people may immediately see your capability, but that means your work has to speak louder than their assumptions. So the first thing I learned was to listen. Listen to teams who had decades of experience. Understand the realities of retail, supply chains, and distribution. Watch how decisions were made, watch how problems were solved. Watch how teams work together. And slowly, piece by piece, begin to understand how businesses actually grow over time. Earlier this year, Brandman was listed on the National Stock Exchange. Standing there and watching that moment unfold, seeing years of work to come together was incredibly powerful, especially as a 23-year-old who would have to wait at least 10 years to be able to do it myself. Journeys like this take years, years of late nights, years of uncertainty, years of people believing in something before it even exists. When I gave a short speech that day, one of the best things I said was thank you to the Brandman team for welcoming me with open arms and allowing me to learn from them. Because businesses are not built by individuals. They're built by teams who grow together. They're people who keep showing up and keep believing. But while all of this was happening professionally, something else was happening personally. For most of my life, I've struggled with body image and weight. And if you're young today, you know how intense the wellness conversation can be. Every time you open Instagram or YouTube, there is a new expert. A new diet, a new workout routine, a new body standard. One day, carbs are the enemy. One day, they're great for you. One day, ghee is unhealthy. One day, it's a superfood again. And at some point, you realize something funny about our generation. We trust Instagram Reels more than our grandmothers. Which is ironic, because half the things our nannies and daddies have told us about health are now trending as ancient wellness practices. I remember once getting ready for an event and trying outfit after outfit after outfit, and feeling like nothing looked right. It sounds like a small moment, but if you've ever struggled with body image, you know how quickly those thoughts spiral. You start questioning yourself, you start comparing yourself, and by the end of it, it is a whole emotional conversation in your head, and you ultimately go out with it. And that's when I realized how much pressure young women today are constantly facing. While navigating all of this, two things became very clear to me. First, a lot of the advice that we follow in India is imported from Western standards. But many of the practices they're now rediscovering, such as yoga, turmeric lattes, ghee, and holistic wellness have always existed in our own culture. And second, something even more surprising, much of the research around health, fitness, and wellness trends is designed around male bodies. Even medication is tested on male bodies first, not women. Which means that women are navigating wellness systems that are never fully designed for them. That realization eventually led me to build Yogini. Yogini is a wellness platform specifically for women. The idea is simple, to create a space where women can find credible information, supportive communities, and reliable products that are designed around women realities. Not unrealistic beauty standards, not viral internet hacks, but wellness that is practical, culturally rooted, and science-backed. Because wellness should not feel like a maze, it should feel like support. It was a simple message, but it has meant everything to me to see Yogini grow. When people message me about it, it gives me that satisfaction that Yogini is not just an idea. It feels like something that could genuinely help people. If there's one thing I've learned from starting small projects, working inside a growing business, and building something of my own, it is this. Entrepreneurship rarely starts with a perfect plan. It starts with noticing something that doesn't make sense. A missing pocket, a missing idea, a confusing wellness system, or a question nobody's asking. And instead of ignoring it, you decide to do something about it. And along my journey, here are a few lessons I've learned. Number one, do not be shy to ask for help. Experience always will beat a Google search. And learning from people who have already made mistakes can save you from making many of your own. Second, believe in your cause. People only trust what you're building when you trust yourself. You should be able to own it with conviction in your eyes, not just your words. If you feel it's a fruitless challenge that may not yield in the way you desire, then there's no point. And number three, find yourself a mentor. Someone who becomes your sounding board and shares their experiences honestly. I know many of you sitting here today might feel pressure to have it figured out already. Tomorrow when you'll enter the career market, if there's one thing I want you all to remember and take away, it is this. You do not need to have it all figured out at 23. You do not need the perfect plan. You do not need the perfect confidence or the perfect timing. Because clarity rarely comes from action. Clarity comes from action. Sometimes the best thing you can do is start small. A project, an idea, a conversation, a business, and let it grow with you. Because one day someone might still look at you and say, but bache, you're just a kid. And that is okay, because you will know something they're not, that you're already building something bigger than their expectations. Thank you.